Hello, Nicolas.
Hello, nice to see you.
Nice to see you again. I like your jacket. That's an interesting one. It's just kind of I don't want to I don't want to I'm gonna guess it's just like Japanese style, something like
No, it's actually a Versace jacket from back in the day, an old one, Gianni. Um, I wore it because most of these interviews I'm doing today are going by way of Miami, but Miami is a city that I adore that's always full of vibrant color, and so I decided to dress as if I were in Miami.
all right, all right. Who's in the that's Morrison in the back?
Oh, who? Jim. Yeah, Morrison.
Yeah, for a second.
That's Jim Morrison, and that's my grandfather, Carmine Coppola, conducting, and that's the late great poet Jim Morrison.
Yeah, it's Morrison. For a second, I thought it's Charles Manson. I say, hey.
Oh no, no, there are no Manson portraits here.
Yeah, that will be too much.
That's not my speed. That's Jim Morrison. I'm glad you pointed that out. Do I need to remind people that?
Yeah.
I
Because
don't want people to think there's a Manson picture in my house.
I mean, I don't see it so well, so I thought it's that Manson, yeah, but it's not. Of course,
Yeah.
it's a great Jim Morrison. So we spoke before, like recently, because of the unbearable weight of massive talent. Before that, you have like Pig. Now you're releasing Renfield. All these movies are great. You're killing it, and and then in this movie you're killing it too, and you're killing. You're doing some killing. So
Sure. No, I feel very happy to be working with colleagues that I admire, people like Chris McKay and Nick Holt and Aquafina, Ben Schwartz. I mean, I've been Pedro on Massive Talent, and Michael Sarnowski on Pig, Alex Wolff. I mean, I've been blessed to recently get with some really creative and talented people. And anytime you surround yourself with people that care as much as we do, you or me, care, magical, creative things happen. And so it's been a good run.
Yeah, and because you're having all these great movies, the fans are very, very excited, right? I mean, of course, you know that not everyone loves like Nicolas Cage, but the people that love Nicolas Cage are extremely happy, and they're saying, "Oh man, there's another Nicolas Cage movie. We have to see this."
Well, that's nice to hear. I do feel blessed to have had a group of film enthusiasts who have stuck with me through thick and thin and for a very long time. And it's kind of like we can all celebrate together, we can all be happy together.
Yeah. And then you'll be like a horror fan. No, you've been in like different like horror movies, and I suppose that you really like horror movies.
I do. Yeah, I like horror films because they're inherently surreal and abstract. I enjoy naturalistic acting, and that there's a place for that, movies like Pig. But I also like the idea of going to new areas with film performance. And the horror film allows me to do that. It wouldn't fit to do Pig and do German expressionistic gestures, but in a movie like Renfield, you can, because Dracula made a contract with the dark forces, the supernatural character. Horror films aren't afraid to explore dream logic. It doesn't always have to add up. It doesn't always have to make sense. You can do something almost like a bad dream, and it just lingers and stays with you. But then again, that doesn't work for every movie. That wouldn't work for Pig.
And then the last movie that I remember before this one that was like related to the vampire war was Vampire Kiss. What do you? I mean, I know that you wanted to portray Dracula for a while. Besides that, what do you like about the script when you read it? Why do you say I want to do this?
Well, because first of all, it's the house is Universal, so that's a big invitation from the legacy of bringing us Bela Lugosi as Dracula, which launched 1 billion viewers. But also this movie is Chris McKay's movie, and he really wanted to capture that tone between horror and comedy.
Yeah.
Which, if you can get that bullseye, man, is it fun? Is it a fun day at the cinema? And I think people are going to really get their money's worth. They're going to laugh and scream at the same time. When I saw American Werewolf in London when I was, 15, I had so much fun. That's the thing about horror and comedy. They're polar opposites, and yet they go together because they slap you around. It's like you don't know what's next, what's around the corner. And it's almost like a ride, and I like that experience in the cinema.
American Werewolf in London, one of the best movies ever.
Landis's masterpiece. I love that movie. I mean, I've been trying to hit that target for so long, and I feel like McKay got close. We
Sure.
got that feeling, and it's a really good feeling.
As you say, there's a lot coming in this one, and this is like a reimagining of the original story. But there's something that I really like about your performance is just that this Dracula is just it's portraying in the way a lot of people think he should be portrayed if you want to be like faithful to Bram Stoker's vision, right? Like he's like completely evil. I mean, it's interesting too, because in the production notes you say that he does feel something for Renfield, but he's like evil. I mean, sometimes you say, does he have feelings? I mean, maybe he's just manipulating the other guy. So it's a version that is not like, it's not very romantic, right? At the same time, the funny thing, that's kind of the opposite of what your uncle did in his like Dracula version, and the fans were saying, I mean, that movie is fantastic, but some like Dracula fans were saying, oh, Dracula is not supposed to be a romantic gentleman. So that's an interesting thing, right?
See, in this movie, I'm very much supporting. I'm supporting Nick Holt's Renfield character. Gary had the whole narrative to play Dracula, so you see why he is the way he is. To me, Dracula was always a study in love, not in exile, meaning that he goes bad because he's not getting the love back. He's lost his love. That he put the love out, he didn't go back. Then he made a contract with dark forces as a result of that. So there is pathos there, but this movie doesn't have the time for that. This movie, there's one scene in the apartment with Renfield where you see that Dracula is legitimately hurt. And I do think that they probably had a lot of fun together at one point as rogues on the road, Dracula and Renfield. It probably was a lot of fun, but that relationship has now gone sour. And now it's very relevant because it's like a toxic relationship, whether it be a boss and an employee in an office somewhere, or an ugly toxic relationship in love, which is so often goes in the wrong direction and is not romantic anymore, but is more about possession and ownership and all those ugly things. And that is looked at in this movie, but this is very much kind of a pop art Dracula, in my view, that he's there to kind of leave an impression that lingers. And he is, I think, really embracing the evil. I even wrote that line at the end when they say, would you have any last wishes? And Dracula says, I wish to enjoy a season in hell. Hail Satan. That, because originally it was, oh, I'm so sorry for what I did. And I'm gonna Dracula would never do that. I mean, he's all in with the dark side,
And then did you like have the chance to talk with your uncle, with Francis, about your version of Dracula?
Well, yeah. Well, first of all, with Uncle, I said, your Dracula is a work of art. Every frame is a work of art. It's a masterpiece, just a gorgeous movie, and Gary's great in it. But I'm going to be playing Dracula for Universal. Do you have any thoughts? And he said, well, it's kind of like Lord Byron, the poet, but just make sure you define the character as handsome. And I was like, well, yeah, well, they've got me in this like kind of Picasso-esque disfigured. I don't know if I could define it as handsome. And he said, well, it doesn't matter. So I guess, and that got my wheels spinning. It's like, okay, even though he looks like that, he still sees himself as handsome. And then I thought of his brother, my father, August, because August was a very handsome man who he was a full professor at like 21. He spoke with a mid-Atlantic accent, and he spoke with distinction, and he always knew he was the smartest man of every room he walked in and made sure we knew it. So I thought, okay, well, Dracula's been around for 500 years. He knows he's the smartest man in every room. The thing about Dracula is he's kind of a maestro of the bait and switch. You know, he'll say something nice and then turn and get so many people do that, you know, in life. You see these people that say something sweet and then the motive was something sociopathic, you know.
Yeah, talking about that, about like people that exist in the current world. Something else that is interesting here that is like the movie is also like it's not only trying to please the old school fans, but it actually has lots of commentary details, right? For start, Dracula is accused of being a narcissist. Narcissist is a term that is being used and abused recently. And then the thing about toxic relationships, I mean, those terms are like, they apply perfectly to the story, but I don't remember hearing them so often when I was like younger. And now everybody's talking about like narcissism and like and toxic relationships.
Yeah. And that, you know, that's something about the movie that I think is so effective. I was just gonna mention the actor who plays the person that's in the support group, Brandon Jones.
Mm-hmm.
He actually says some very meaningful things and he's giving little uplifting kernels of wisdom that folks that have had these relationships with narcissists and sociopaths that get bait and switched and get tricked, you know, even though the movie is a comedy and it is a horror film, there's actually compassion, there's actually pathos. And you know, Brandon's performance is one of my favorites in the movie because he gave the little supportive kernels of wisdom that I think people can apply.
So I have like 2 minutes left, but I would like to ask you how I was working with Nicolas Holt and with the director.
Well, Nick Holt, look, I worked with Nick on The Weatherman. I was starring, he was supporting, he played my son. I knew then how confident he was as a film actor. In this one, he's starring, I'm supporting. And in this one, you know, I got to really see his comedic chops. He's very funny. He's got a great look, but in the eyes, there's always something vulnerable and tragic going on. And what I like about Nick is that he's able to switch on a dime with his like Chaplin-esque facial expressions and body language into very heartfelt drama and pathos. And by watching him, it really informed where I could go with the Dracula character. It became like one, you know, coalescing like a dance. Especially my favorite scene is the studio apartment scene when Dracula comes to visit him, Renfield. And there's a lot going on. And we did a lot of takes of that. And Chris McKay, our director, really knew what he was going for. He had a great vision for the movie and he was searching for it the whole time. And he didn't let up until he got it. And Nick Holt and I were in really good hands with Chris McKay.
Dracula.
Okay, obviously we're dealing with a little bit more than just narcissism here.
Now, let's eat.